Hey there, this review for our OS Old School Essentials Mosshaven campaign, session number 2. We picked up with our two characters, Talendor and Saradoc. We're in the Mosshaven, the town proper. We've been there about a week since our last adventure. My character, who generally doesn't spend a lot of time in town, he's spending a bit more time there, relating his adventure to anyone that will listen or ask. He's usually not too popular in town, so like to have some favorable attention is new to him. So he's reveling in it. Talendor is pretty much broke again. He's been like frivolously spending all the gold and loot that we found in the last session, so he's kind of desperate for need some more coin. We are hanging out in the Dancing Bear, which is one of two inns in the town, with Braun, our dwarven companion. And while we're in there, a old black raven flies in, and it's from Master Tarbin Ravenbrush, who's my character's mentor, druid mentor. And the raven's name is Mika. And it has a note for me, and it wants me to pick up a package at the library and bring it to him. And so, with not having much more to do, we head off in that direction. The library in town, not real big. It's tucked in between two buildings, and it's not real big in size. It's packed, filled with books and scrolls and stuff. And in there, it's run by a Horace Hearthsinger, and he is at his desk, which is brimming with paperwork and such. And with them is another halfling, and we know this halfling to be Tars Nimblefoot. And Tars is the leader of the Reeves, and Reeves are the newly formed group of halflings that their mission is to defend Mosshaven. And they never had anything like this before, but Mosshaven has been a victim of a lot of very serious crime. Actually, their sheriff was murdered, farmers were murdered by cults in our Cast Crusades campaign that the party got involved in. So they're deciding now that they need to have their own like little militia. So they have Reeves, and Reeves are actually a optional class in Old School Essentials for halflings, and they're basically defenders of halfling homes and shires and stuff like that. So Tars is the leader of them, and one of the things we learn is that the Reeves are actually exploring the east, past the Tunner River and beyond the Brambleberry Winery, and they're trying to explore out that way to see what's out, if there's any threats from that area. So they're not really focused on the town itself right now, or it doesn't seem that way. So we get stuff from Horace. He gives us a package. We talk to him for a bit, and he actually warns us that Mosshaven is changing and becoming more dangerous. So we head off to Tarbin's. He lives out in the Twisted Boughs and the bosky moors out past that way, and as my character does too. And as we get closer to his establishment, his grove, we notice that there's an abundance of animals, especially ravens, and we actually see a treant along the path. And my character is familiar with him and speaks treant, so like he calls out a greeting to him, which is returned, and the treant kind of shuffles off. And Talendor is a little surprised, or this isn't quite his element. He spends most of his time in town, so like he's not really comfortable out in this area of Mosshaven. We end up meeting up with Tarbin and give him the package. And we end up talking to him for a bit. I think it's a book on the Fae is what he's given. And we end up talking to him for a while, and he talks about there's been some recent attacks on people living near the marsh. And one of the things of note is that there is a long grease trail is left behind. My character volunteers the group to look into this matter, and we head off in that direction. And it's not too hard to find the trail or follow it. It's pretty wide and very distinct, and it leads into the Twisted Boughs. We follow it for a while until we have to rest, and during the night, a figure is seen by Talendar. It has like two bird-like creatures on its arm, but they have the bodies of a crow and the face of a baby, and he can hear a baby laughing, which it was very unsettling. My character didn't really experience it, but we were shown pictures of what these crows look like, and they're creepy, very creepy. And so, but the rest of the night passes uneventfully. Talendar does not get a very good rest for the night. The next day, we're traveling. I think we're doing like a river, little brook or stream crossing on this. And we're crossing a beaver dam. That's what we were doing to get over the other side. And while we're doing this, Braun is suddenly hit with a spear, and we get attacked by basically bullywugs, bog beasts. And the battle is on, so it's pretty quick battle back and forth. The highlight of the battle was that in the same round, both Dave and I, our characters were using our slings, and we both scored critical hits in the same round, and ended up dropping the leader and I think one other one. And this actually caused the bullywug's morale to break, and the remaining ones fled. So that was really cool, though. We got that double crit in that round, took down the leader, and was able to forego any more fighting. We found a little bit of gold, like 2 gold pieces, and kept going. Around midday, we found menhir. I probably butchered the pronouncing of that, but it's sprouting up from the mud. It's like 20 feet high and 10 feet in diameter, and it stands straight. And it has images of massive lizards and lizardmen on it, and also a large black dragon. And all around it, on it, where the black dragon shows up, the wings on it have been defaced. Not sure what this means. We keep moving, and we find the remains of a rotting hut, human-sized. Nothing of value in it, and from there in the distance we see some reflection of something shining. So we head off to that location to investigate further. There's some sort of there's a figure that we see kind of hunched over and walking, and Talendar sneaks up to it and ends up attacking it. And I think based on what he saw, because he could see more than our character, like my character and Braun could see, he attacks. It turns out to be a ghoul. And so he attacks and misses, and then gets hit and paralyzed. So, but we're able to bring it down before he takes too much more damage, which was good. And from this, though, he had a fair amount of treasure squirreled away, so we scooped that up. And nearby, the shiny thing was a bronze chimney coming out of a ruined tower, and we decided to search this. The first floor is waterlogged, and we look around a little bit, and we find an entrance to a lower level. And one of the things we note about this is this entrance has been recently used, and we knew that because of the scuff marks we could see. We go down this entrance, and it leads into this altar room dedicated to the Whispered One. So that doesn't mean anything to my character, that name. Me as a player, I know who the Whispered One is because I've used the Whispered One in a previous campaign. And on this altar, on the left side is a hand, and on the right side is an eyeball, and they're both preserved. So basically, we're dealing with an altar to Vecna, the Whispered One. Carved into the altar, though, and it looks like it was done relatively recently, is written "False God," and we're not quite sure what that means. We explore the rest of the first floor. We go back up, explore the rest of the first floor. Because in that first floor there was a left-right passage that we didn't go down. We take the left passage, and that leads to a sarcophagus with a pentagram painted on the floor. We end up, like all good adventurers, we crack that sarcophagus open, and this black smoke billows out, and Braun opens it up. Braun actually was the one that opened it up, and this smoky entity comes out of the sarcophagus. I think it's a wraith. I'm not 100% sure if it was. The problem with it is that we quickly learned that it could only be hurt with magical weapons. I don't have, like, as a second level druid, I don't have any real offensive magics, and I have no magical weapons, and neither does Braun. The only magical weapon in the party is the bronze sword that Talendor carries, which we learned was a magical sword that he found in the previous session, and he's able to damage it. The rest of us can't really do much of anything. I might have cast Fairy Fire on it, because I think it blew out like our lanterns, and once we got the light source back on, I might have hit it with Fairy Fire, but other than that, I couldn't do a lot. But Talendor beats it, and he defeats it when he rolls another nat 20. So another nat 20 is able to bring down our adversary, which was good, because we were probably in a tight spot if that didn't happen. We look around, and we find some more loot. There's a spell scroll. I figure out what that does, actually. And a ring, a potion bottle, and a vial of oil. And we find a space under the sarcophagus, and that leads to a deep stairwell to a long hallway. And like all good adventurers, down we go. And we see a figure at the far end of this hall, and it's like black, wearing a long black robes and carrying a lantern and a scythe. Not good. And we can hear this cacophony of whispers coming from it. He drops his lantern, and this powerful wind blows down the hall, and we hear this voice say, "You don't belong." And I'm actually hit with a fear spell, and so is Braun, and I think we blow out of there and don't return. We didn't want any more of that, so we ended up going back up to the first floor and exploring the right passage. And in here, I'm just trying to read my notes. Looks like there's cages hang from the corners of the room, and this appears to be a torture chamber. And we find jars with preserved body parts. Looks like things were taken. And a fair amount of loot, though, which was nice. Pretty good loot in this session. But we think we've explored all the lower level except for that long hallway, because we didn't want to mess with the robe guy. And my son had showed us a picture of that guy, and as I recall correctly, he had like a skeletal face, and I don't know what he was, but we wanted no part of it. We do go up to the second floor of the tower. The rest of the floors have collapsed. It's in utter ruin, and there's a bronze chimney there, which we had seen, but there's also a small forge. So we pretty much cleared out this tower again, except for that lower level. And we decide at this point we're going to return to Mosshaven, because of all the loot we found. Above board, we were like, we've probably reached our max capacity if we have not gone over it. Because there was a fair amount of coin, and we were trying to haul back as much as we could. So, I mean, we don't do a hard track of encumbrance, but we do keep a realistic view of it. And I'm like, well, so that led us to a conversation about one of the reasons we want to return to Mosshaven is we need to hire some hirelings. We don't have any hirelings in this game. We have Braun, who's a full character, and he's great. But like, we need some hirelings. So what we'd like to do is get maybe a couple people, maybe one person to be like a torchbearer or a porter, and then maybe some other like help. So Braun isn't the only guy on the front line, and we could, you know, then push on further, carry more stuff in Adventure Line. We're actually talking about getting some donkeys or mules, because they'll actually go in the dungeons and stuff. So unlike horses or other pack animals, so we go back to Mosshaven, and that is where our session ended. Real fun session. On a high note, my character reached 3rd level, so he's a 3rd level druid. One of the things I realized, that I kept forgetting while we were playing, that I was 2nd level, and in Old School Essentials, I should have had 2 1st level spells, and I'd only had 1. I was using Fairy Fire. So now, with this level up and being reminded of what my actual level is, and how many spells I have 2 1st level spells and now a 2nd level spell. So his 2nd level spell is going to be Cure Light Wounds, because we have no healing in the party, so that'll be good. And I'm not sure what the 1st level spell is. We're messing around with the spells a little bit. Actually, quite a bit, probably, if you really look at it, because we're using Shadowdark's Roll to Cast system and experimenting with that. So far, so good. We're still in the process of tweaking it, because we'd added some tweaks to it, and we're dialing them back. So, and the other thing we're doing is we're also adopting the spell lists from the Dragon Slayer games, RPG that my son had previously run. There's a lot more spells on those lists, so you have more options, which is good. They have a very old school feel, because that's how Dragon Slayer is designed. So we're gonna add those, or just use those lists, because all the spells in OSE are also on those lists for the most part that I've seen. But they also give you some more options. Like OSE doesn't have some classic druid spells like Shillelagh or Flame Blade or stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it'd be nice to have those spells. Like Shillelagh actually might be the spell I take if my other 1st level spell that I didn't take. That way, if we run into something like this Wraith or whatever it was that can only be hit by magic, I could at least cast that and actually contribute to the battle. So yeah, that was it. That's our thing with OSE. We're playing again this week, so in a couple more days. This is Monday, so on Friday we'll be playing again. So I appreciate everybody watching. I really appreciate the comments, and keep them coming. The engagement is a big thing, so not just because it makes the videos get seen more and stuff like that, but I generally enjoy engaging with everybody in the comments and talking about the games and such, and your games. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I will catch you at the next one.